Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. Today, we have a return guest. We have very few return guests out of almost 300 episodes. Dr. Philip Miller, but he's on for a different reason than he was the first time. We know him as celebrity facial plastic surgeon, world-renowned plastic surgeon, but he's always been involved with tech, and he has a new, endeavor, where he's the CEO of AesthetiSuite by PlacerTech. Dr. Philip Miller, welcome back to the New Theory podcast. How are you doing today?
It's great to be here. You know, Tom, I have to ask you, it's the first time I've thought about it. Why is it called New Theory?
So we initially was Insider Magazine, and we found out that Insider literally has the patent on Insider, or the trademark. So the whole idea was to kind of develop a new theory, and somebody goes, well, the evolution of thought begins with a new theory.
Oh, I like it.
So that's where that comes from.
Nobody ever
asked that. Thanks.
Look at that. Yeah. Well, you got a great backdrop there, so I figured I'd take advantage of it and ask you a question. Forward thinking.
That's it. Exactly. Forward thinkers. So speaking of forward thinkers, so you have a great career, plastic surgeon, done very well for yourself professionally, a lot of endeavors. You speak on the stage, but the whole bit, like, you had some itches, if you will, from a technological standpoint. You've always been into tech. So walk us through kind of the genesis of how you got into tech, and then eventually how AesthetiSuite came to be.
Yeah. I'll bring this all the way back to something, give credit where credit's due. And it's my mom and I guess my dad, who always told me, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. And I sort of figured that if I can go ahead and just take all my interest and passion and roll it up into one, I'll really have fun. And without question, the vast majority of that is facial plastic surgery, and I love that. But I also have just a passion for technology, whether it's photography or whether or not it's computer software. And I knew sort of early in my career that the most important thing about technology is efficiency and productivity, that you can be that much more efficient, that much more productive if you utilize technology properly. And so I've always sort of been an early adopter, sometimes to my own detriment. Exactly, because it takes forever sometimes to do it. But I've always been an early adapter and trying to see what's out there in order to make my practice and, more importantly, the experience for my patients better, and always better. And that has evolved ultimately into developing, over the years, I developed processes or protocols or just sort of tools that were for myself. And I used to tell about it. I would be happy to share that with my colleagues from the stage, if you will, during conventions. But this latest endeavor that you mentioned, Aestheti.bot, and now the reminder system and the notification system, which make up the three apps of the AesthetiSuite, I realized I'm going to commercialize this and make it available to all of my colleagues if they want them. And I guess that was one main advantage of COVID. I'm sure we're all looking back and saying, what was at least some advantage of COVID? And the three months sort of outside of the office, I basically said, well, let me take this technology and make it available to others.
So, but here's the thing, what's different about you. So you are an established plastic surgeon. You're a smart business person. I think our first podcast was about from back of a napkin to, a very successful practice in New York City, now New Orleans and other places. But, you could have, and he could easily called me up, or any marketer. You could have just rolled out a white label program. You could have just, slapped your name on it, sell to some colleagues, kind of sit back and collect checks. But you actually went from building out an AI system from scratch. And you're a techie, so that's hard for anybody, let alone somebody even in your position, and time constraints. I want to know how you dedicated, the resources, and how you kind of brought it to present day.
It partly comes to absolute passion. It really does. When you have passion and curiosity, you get results and you get execution. And there are tools out there. I think that there's Peter Diamandis is also sort of a futurist, if you will. And I like what Peter says now. So I'm quoting him when he says that what only nation states and enormous corporations could do, any individual can do with some of the technology that's available. And with that said, there's no way anybody, or certainly not just one person, could have created what was created in the last 18 months But because of the technology is the way it is with cloud computing, you can, you
Yeah.
know, on a side note, I got so inspired by what Peter had said one time that I was in the operating room one time. I don't know if I told you this, Tom, but I was in the operating room one time and I wanted to test this theory that what an individual can do. So I was in the operating room and I was struggling with a particular maneuver, and instantly in my head, I popped this tool that I wish I had. And I went back to my desk and I drew it out.
That's right. I remember
And
that.
I was very specific about it. I uploaded it and said, okay, I think I went to Fiverr or something. I said, someone needs to please draw this into a PDF format so that it has all the stats. Then I got it 3D, and within a week I had it 3D printed and I was using it in the operating room. And I mean, it's just unheard of, the kind
I
of
think you patented
capabilities.
it, right? Did you
And it's,
patent it?
yeah, and it's patented.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's patented. And so with that in mind, I became fascinated, sort of at a similar event that Peter was holding. His name's Dr. Peter Diamandis, a little plug for Peter. He has, it's called Abundance 360, no affiliation. I have nothing to, no affiliation with him. And it dawned on me, wow, customer service is the new big thing, and artificial intelligence in customer service is the new thing. And that's when I realized I want to build an artificial intelligence specific to the aesthetic industry that will be able to answer in a very, very detailed fashion patients or prospects' questions. And if I train it right, they're going to be indistinguishable from a human. And you would be amazed, Tom, at some of the conversations that I can see where the person literally is going back, the client or the patient is going back and forth with the bot, and they don't even know that they're talking to an artificial intelligence. They think they're talking to a human. It's crazy, including and I have one person who starts, and I mean, our bot can even handle a Spanish question. And then the response is in Spanish. Sorry, we don't speak Spanish. Can we continue this in English? And the response, yeah, it's crazy. It's been really, really impressive.
So not everybody knows, because again, I have a wide variety of entrepreneurs and a whole bunch of other people, and we're generally fairly smarter people, but some people don't know what AI is. So give us a little bit of just simple, what is artificial intelligence, what exactly that it does, Doc?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence is the ability to take tremendous amount of data and make predictions from it. I think that's a great way to sort of look at it.
That is one, yeah.
And for those of you who think that, and one thing that is important though is artificial intelligence is not often transferable laterally. And by that I mean is you can develop the same artificial intelligence that was great at backgammon wasn't great, that could beat any human being at backgammon, wasn't the same kind of artificial intelligence that could beat any human being at chess. Which was not the same kind of artificial intelligence. So it tends to be very vertical.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is more conversational artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And then the content is aesthetics. And that's where I come in, because I'll take that capability of the conversational vertical and narrow it even further for specifically aesthetics. And artificial intelligence is often used in conjunction with another term called machine learning.
Yes.
And machine learning is sort of a black box, because what's fascinating is it's sort of the ability for a computer to learn. But what's fascinating is often we don't know how the computer's learning. We know the computer's learning, but we don't know how it's learning. But we know that, and all we're really doing is saying, okay, we're going to input A and we want B to come out. And if the computer puts out C, we teach the computer, no, that's wrong, computer. We wanted you to put out B. And then the computer next time puts out B, and we tell the computer, good job. And the computer learns.
That's amazing. So you use this as a tool, and we're both data-driven people. So I'm guessing there's probably 90% of queries could be bucketed to X amount of queries, and those 90% of queries can probably be answered in 70% of questions and all that kind of fun stuff. So does it work off a precedent and fix itself, or does it work off a prediction and then adjust? Or both?
It does both. So there's also many different ways of machine learning or artificial intelligence. And one of the ways, which is what we do, which is it's sort of almost it's for lack of a better term, or maybe this is the proper term, it's called collaborative AI.
Yes.
And so what that means is that as the machine is learning, I'm still looking at it and making fine adjustments and helping it. There are other systems where you build it and then you put it out and you see what happens, and then that's it. If it doesn't work, you got to go back to the drawing board and rebuild it again and then put it back out and see how it does. Mine, you're sort of set it free, but much like that game where, you know, the people are, what's that game in the Olympics where they throw that big weight down the ice, you know, and they're brushing the, you know,
I was going to bother me. I know somebody who actually did that.
Sculling, I think, or something, but whatever that is, that's sort of what this is we're constantly monitoring the progress of the bot, and then we're just sort of making changes here and there to always improve it. But what's most impressive of all is that once you make a change, it typically always stays that way. And that's what's so fascinating, is that, you know, and just to make sure, we built, and kudos to my software developer, John Malieve, who's amazing.
Great guy.
You know him, great guy. And Marissa Levitt, who's also, she's great. And Jeffrey Cole, and
shout out to Jeff.
Yep. Marley Silverman. All these people have been just doing a great job on it as well. Ethan Miller was actually involved in this as well for a little bit as well. And it's a team effort. But in order to make the bot work properly, consistently, we developed another application called Bot Quacky, BOTQAQI, and it's bot quality assurance, quality improvement. And what this does is, this is really sort of cool. This is almost like an intelligence that sits on top of the intelligence and is constantly looking down automatically and making sure that our bot AI is working properly. And that was a lot of fun building that.
Oh, wow.
So we have this, and then if it's not, we get notified, we get texts, or we get, you know, little dashboards that turn red, bright red, and freak John out in the middle of the night when it doesn't work.
So you roll this out, and this is where, you know what, like, again, I'm about 300 interviews deep. There's so many entrepreneurs, quote entrepreneurs, but Dr. Miller has a, you know, high revenue practice. His life, it depends on it, his livelihood. And he put this bot, it's a badass move. He put this bot on his own site. Now, granted, you know, we know him, quality assurance, quality assistance, probably ran through 1 million iterations, but he put his money worth where his mouth was and put it on his own damn site. Dr. Miller, that had to have been a little scary. Walk us through that.
Yeah, no, that was actually, well, and it's funny, Tom, because depending upon when you publish this, those of you who go to my site may or may not see the bot. And the reason is
you split test?
Because we split test. You know, we're totally data driven, and we do experiment after experiment after experiment. And we take a look at stats. And right now we're looking at other stats on our website, Google Analytics, and seeing the effect that the bot was having on the Google Analytics. And so we sometimes turn the bot on, we sometimes turn it off, we sometimes change code because we want to see how the bot is interacting with human interaction. So if you happen to go on there and you don't see this, I don't want it to appear as if you and I aren't being.
We'll put a link below.
Yeah,
be nice honest. To the bot. Be nice. Yeah. Do we have a name for the bot?
It's Aestheti.bot. Yeah.
No. Like, is it Robert or?
Oh, yeah. No, it's Aestheti. We call it Aestheti. AB. I guess we could call it AB bot. AB bot. But so this is an example, I would say, of we put sort of the money where I put our money where our mouth is, and we put it on our website, and we were shocked at how well it performed.
Fantastic.
And we went to one step further, which is that the data that we collect can also look at the most frequent procedures that patients inquired about.
Oh, wow.
And the most frequent topic about those procedures. And what we found was, what the top 5 were that were requested or were asked about. And I'll ask you, Tom, you probably know, what do you think was the #1 topic about those procedures that patients wanted to know about?
Recovery.
After recovery, even before recovery, which was, that was up there, but price.
I was going
You
to say
know,
price because it usually is average price, but I was talking to that. Good call.
Yep. Yeah. And it was, and I guess not surprising, it was price. And
Yeah.
over 50, closer to 50 to 60% of patients during the conversation, they asked about price. And we had a default setting, which was basically like every procedure for each patient is unique and separate. We
Average
advise you to
cost
call the
of, yeah,
office, blah, 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 which is what 99% of plastic surgeons and facial plastic surgeons
correct.
have on their website in relationship to price. They don't want to do it. Well, here's the problem. Problem is this isn't a website. This is a chatbot. This is supposed to simulate a conversation.
Yeah.
And every single practice has a script that a person in the practice is supposed to say when a client calls up and says, well, how much does a facelift cost?
Yep. And I've written them. Yep.
Okay. And you don't, if you're talking on a patient on the phone, you don't say, well, we're not sure. Why don't you come in and we'll tell you? No, you have a script and you basically know, you give a range, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So here's what we did, Tom. We took those top 5 procedures and we decided to use the same script that our patient coordinators use when someone asks about price, and we put it in the bot.
That's excellent. That is excellent.
And we watched what happened, and we were fascinated. Sure enough, those people who got that information continued on in the conversation.
Wow.
Those individuals who were just given the standard, contact the office about what price is, stop the conversation.
See, we had a few podcasts earlier, refer back to Dan Henry and then Jordo's previous, and we were talking about like qualifying the right person, and we'll get to the endpoints in a second. So on the front end, did you see a higher and I probably should have asked this a while ago, but did you see a higher conversion rate of visitors to the site to booking a consult versus baseline, or do you not have enough data as of yet?
It's sort of complicated at this point, because the reason is, while ideally you should be able to gather that information, unfortunately our bot has a handoff to the website to book an appointment, and once we hand it off, we can't track that person anymore. So we can make assumptions. We can assume that if we handed it off that but we don't have actual data. And yes, those of you who are familiar with Google Analytics, those of you who know the coding, I know you can code it, you can find it, but just the way everything else is designed and integrated with other systems that we have, it gets a little complicated.
Correct.
But we've got right now, I feel very comfortable telling you that we basically can collect anywhere between around 80 to 85% of the people who interact with the bot, provide us with their name and their information so that the practice can follow up with them. Yeah.
Well, so just give perspective, folks. So let's just say 100 people visit any plastic surgeon's website. A good marketer will convert 2 to 3%, maybe with phone up to 6%. And if let's say he gets even 9%, that 3% in the revenue side could be very well meaningful to the practice. But one thing I want to focus on for a second, Doc, and I'm actually what gets me excited about this, it's not even just about the revenue. The revenue is going to come, right? Whether it could always increase traffic, PPC, that kind of stuff. But one of the newer schools of thought in relation to plastic surgery is the user experience from the beginning. And they actually cited a few different studies where, like the old days, you kind of just, hey, who'd you go to? You go, now you have social media, their influences. And many people, as you know, will go see multiple doctors. But when they said, hey, who did you decide to book with? They go with who they had the best experience with. And the Aestheti.bot, Abby, provides that earlier on. Was that kind of part of your strategy, or did that kind of, oh crap, wow, this works as a great patient experience? Because that part, I think it's overlooked sometimes. Even I overlook it at times. But even if you made the same amount of revenue, happier patients spend more and come back. So I
totally agree with you. And that's actually how Aestheti.bot started in the first place, was that it was originally not a lead generation system. It wasn't. We originally built it out as a system for patients to be able to ask me, if you will, questions about their post-operative care.
Correct.
Because they're always the same questions and they're always the same answers.
Correct.
And this intelligence, incidentally, works just as well on Amazon Alexa or
Oh, wow.
or
Google
not the
Home or whatever.
or Google Home.
Yeah.
Exactly. It works just as well on them as it does using a text-based system. The problem with, and we built it out originally for that.
Yeah.
The reason why we didn't keep it in that direction was that we didn't have enough interactions.
Yeah.
Right. We wanted more information. I was saying earlier that artificial
Correct.
intelligence is built based on data. We wanted
Correct.
more data. Well, you're going to get more data based on inquiries. So that's when it was, let's not have the interface be Amazon Alexa. Let's
Correct.
not have the interface be text messaging. Let's have it be on the website. Well, if it's going to be on the website, now you have to incorporate the whole concept of lead generation because, so that's how it eventually developed. But getting back to what you were saying, the purpose of it originally was so that my post-op patients would be able to have their questions answered immediately and extensively without having to just try to find it on either the website or through the bounds of the large amount of material that I give them for their post-operative instructions. So you're absolutely right. That was the original intention.
Yeah.
And it's with that intention that we built the other two products, one of which is the notification system and the other one is the reminder system. The reminder system is, I just got a mom recently told me that she said she's never seen a practice like ours in terms of patient outreach and being run as smoothly. So the reminder system is very simple. We can associate what we want you as a patient to know a couple of weeks before and a couple of weeks after the procedure that you're going to get. And we can write that all on a piece of on a document. But wouldn't it be better if the relevant information was texted to you
when you want it or need it
on the appropriate days and dates prior to your surgery and after your surgery? So the reminder system allows me to just link a patient, their cell phone number with the procedure and the procedure date, and it automatically configures texts going out at the appropriate time and frequency before the procedure and after the procedure with a click of a button. And that's been fantastic.
Now, kind of like a CRM on steroid. What about any thought on, hey, reminding you when to get your Botox, reminding you when to come in for filler, remind you to come in if you're, even laser hair removal, whatever in the aesthetic space. Can that have that utility eventually as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't want to we don't want to burden our patients. We don't want to it's not really, the reminder system really was intended to be to facilitate the recovery. Not necessarily to badger them with, hey, come on back and spend more. That's not really what it was intended to do. But could it be used for that? Sure. Yeah.
Well, one thing to point out, everybody, is in the aesthetic. Yeah. One thing I like what you're doing is, and I actually think the aesthetic space is probably the dot on that O of capability, but the total opportunity is this entire sign, right?
No, wait a second. The dot on the O?
The dot and the O, where's that forward? I'm like, it's opposite because it's a screen.
Oh, are you talking about you? Okay.
No,
All
so
right,
I'll talk about the opportunity because we were looking at aesthetics, which is still a $15 billion industry, right? Mm-hmm. However, what you brought about, the reminder before and the after, puts it in play for hospital systems, ambulatory surgeries, and there's actually outcomes on people being compliant prior to surgeries, prior to after surgery. And don't get me wrong, we would love a big slice of the $15 billion industry. We're not going to turn it away. But in total healthcare, you're looking at over $100 billion. And there's applications that you can unpack once you roll it out. And I know that, but I just wanted to give everybody the profundity behind it.
And that's where our notification system is picked up by a hospital down in New Orleans.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're using our notification system. And what was the problem that we solved there was that the doctors wanted to stay in touch with the caregivers, the family of the patients during these very long procedures.
Correct.
But they didn't want to have the nurses converse with the caregivers because there's only so much the nurses can explain, after the procedure. And they wanted to standardize what was being sent. So the notification system is the ability to just put a caregiver's name, telephone number, in, and depending upon what the procedure is, there's already a list list of common phrases that are to be sent to the caregiver at a given time. And it's a one-way system. So that the notification goes out, but you can't respond. And that way the nurse isn't distracted during the case. The nurse doesn't have to worry about giving information that perhaps shouldn't be given. It's worked out quite well.
And again, standardized procedures, and it could tie it into a whole bunch of stuff. So we talked about totally balls move to put on your website, check it out. Your split testing, which is smart to do as well. And again, because you get the volume there. Once you get the volume and you're comfortable, what other mediums are you looking at? You're looking at phone voice. Are you looking at Alexa, voice? You said text. Walk us through that.
Yeah, the first one is let's look within the number. Of course, we're talking about Aestheti.bot at this point. And by the way, for those of you who sort of don't know what a bot is, a bot is really anything that does something automatically. Okay, so that's what a robot does, right? A robot can act autonomously and independently and does something over and over again. And a chat bot is a artificial bot that is engaging in a conversation, and that's what a chatbot is for terminology wise. And I should have probably said that in the beginning. And but what's really great about what we built in terms of the engine is not only can it service any or any practice, and that those practices can customize the answers to their own practice. They can completely rewrite the scripts. The intelligence is there. They know how to answer it, but they can say, we want the bot to answer this way. But also, there are multiple modules. So we already went over the fact that it started with sort of the post-op answer module.
Correct.
And it became, let's talk to you about the practice as well. And now we can answer all the questions you want to know about the doctors. And then we created the lead generation module. And the latest one is the symptoms. So there's a fundamental difference between someone saying, hey, tell me about rhinoplasty versus, hey, I got a bump in my nose. How do I get rid of it? Those are two fundamentally different questions. And the former, what's a rhinoplasty, that goes along with the procedure module. The, hey, I got a bump in my nose, how do I take care of that? That's part of the symptom module, which is what a patient is unhappy about or complaining about. And we just finished building out that module, and that's going great. So patients can actually sort of get dare I say, an AI consult, but to a certain degree, they'll be informed about that.
Eventually, I was actually about to ask you about that.
No, that's that. But then the answer is our intelligence is agnostic to any interface. And what that means is it can work with a website. It can work with text messaging, and we already have that up. It can work with Alexa, and we already have that up. It's just about the old expression, right? Telephone wasn't useful unless there were two, right? You needed two telephones, right? You had to call somebody. Correct. And so in building out Alexa, what we found is that, yes, a lot of people are great about asking Alexa what time it is and what the weather, but they're not there just yet to be able to go, oh, let me turn this, and it's called an Alexa skill. Many people, you have to turn the Alexa skill on and then know how to incite it and then ask it questions. And that was, I think, expecting a little too much. But the answer is, Tom, we have that capability today, and it's just a matter of flipping the switch.
So I was actually watching CNBC this morning, and I knew about this, but have you ever, with AI, one of the concerns is deep fakes. Have you heard about those?
Deep fakes is the ability, that's to have someone get a sampling of my voice and then actually a sampling of my face, and you can actually pretend to speak like me.
Correct. And I like Dr. Miller, I work with, I know him. He could like almost FaceTime me and be like, hey, Tom, you got to do this, this, and this. Hang up. And I'll be like, I would do it because I would do it. Right. So conversely, and it's a scare, we'll get into the Elon Musk portion of being worried about AI in a second, but in a weird sort of way, deep fakes, or whatever the positive word for that, can work in your favor. Because I can go in your chatbot and I could be like, hey, I'm interested in a consult. There could be a video apparition of you, if you will, and then answer the questions based off of that, probably better than you might be able to, because you get like a lot of different questions. But did you ever think of maybe like having a Dr. Miller deep fake made?
Well, I don't know whether or not it would be called a deep fake if I'm
No,
using it for that purpose.
I don't know the positive word for that. But
Right, right, right. I think the word might be a virtual avatar.
There we
So,
go.
you know, an avatar is typically a graphical representation,
That's
but
it.
a
Yeah.
virtual avatar. So, yeah, have we been able to do that? Yeah, sure. I think that's just around the corner. In fact, there's a company, and they're going to kill me. Apologize, you guys. I think you're great. They're out in Australia, and I've seen them. What they've created is something very impressive. They've created a virtual assistant so that you're actually talking to this person, and it does in fact look like a real person, but
Oh wow.
they're completely digital, right?
Oh wow.
But here's what's fascinating is that what makes this interaction unbelievably unique is that the software is reading your facial expressions, tone of voice, and word choice.
Oh wow.
And it is going to respond not just to the questions that you're asking, but also to the manner in which you're asking them.
Tonality.
And if
wow.
in tonality, and if you look like you're getting angry, it will become more sympathetic. If it looks like you're getting frustrated, it will try to be more understanding.
Wow.
It's incredible. And I've actually interacted with that software, and all I've done is stood there and like put on an upset face, and the person has been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Miller, you look upset. What can I do for you?" And it's responding because of my facial expressions,
Yeah.
not what I've said.
Wow. So let's go, because you're a futurist. You're ahead of the curve, and you've always been. So walk us through in 10 years from now. Will I walk in almost to your office? There'll be a little kiosk. Hey, Tom's here. Knows what I want already, almost without me knowing. Maybe give me some suggestions. And then I go sit down. You walk in, you have your glasses on, that put a screen on. Tom's here for X. Of course, we'll chat and catch up. But then you go ahead and do your magic and then go on to the next. So would probably free up like 40 to 50% of your time. So is that a fair assessment, or walk us through the office, the future, the office of the future looks like?
Well, I think that's if you don't mind me saying, I think that's a different question than how is there's the office of the future, and then there's the role of AI in the office of the future. And
let's start with the latter.
Okay, the role of AI in the office of the future. I would say the biggest role of AI, besides in customer service, I would say, is going to be something that is less obvious to the patients. That has to do with product rollout. AI is going to make the creation of new products and services so much faster, because rather than testing it actually on either subjects, there will be digital models of the subjects, and the technology will be done virtually through them, and thousands of experiments performed on these digital subjects.
Yeah.
And then we'll get, and because of that, we'll be able to get products to market faster. I think that, and so there won't, I think in the beginning, you're not going to see really the main role in AI playing in medicine in general and aesthetics in particular.
Yeah.
But the office of the future is going to be, I would say, may very well be an office you don't see, because what are we really missing right now in making it that you don't have to come see me in the office? And it's number one, I mean, I can already see you with Zoom, right? And we've got high definition.
Correct.
But we're going to want to make it 3D. And I think that'll come with our augmented reality goggles that are coming out. And then the last thing is, it's a term called haptics. And haptics is the ability to feel through technology and through digital.
Wow.
Yeah. So you may have seen now these vests that you can wear if you're playing a digital game, and as you turn, or if you're playing a shooter game, you get shot and you might feel it. Well, that's what I mean by haptics. And so the technology exists already, where you can take a camera and show it on different parts of your body, or maybe a thermometer, blood pressure gets transmitted automatically, temperature, pulse, etc. But I can't touch you through the computer yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. That technology is going to revolutionize, because then I'll be able to completely do an examination on you, and you won't have to be in front of me at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a few industries where that might work very well, but we're a child friendly show, so we'll keep it light. But so I want to know, because again, like so you being a scientist first, if you will, you're a physician, which is a scientist,
Yeah.
and a scientist first. You went in with, I know AI, I know the books, I know the YouTubes, I've been to conferences, but then you actually built out from scratch an actual app, an application. So what are some of your learnings now, retro, that's like, wait a second, I wish I knew then what I know now. I'd like to know some of your learnings.
I still think it's pretty early
Yeah.
for me to say I wish I knew now about what we need to do. We're still at that phase that everything that's coming to us is new. I would say so. I don't think I have the distance yet to look back and say if I had only known then. Yeah.
So before we conclude, because again, being so I was watching a YouTube the other day and it had Jeff Bezos on, and somebody walked over to him and to like congratulated him on the latest quarter. And he looked at him like there was a fuzzy stare. He's like, last quarter, like that quarter was baked 3 years ago. I'm 3 years ahead, and I know you think along that thread. So what's 3 years ahead for Aestheti.bot, Aestheti.suite by PlacerTech?
You've talked about it. I think I would love for Aestheti.bot to be the premier, and in fact, it is, because it's the only aesthetic artificial intelligent machine learning customer service bot that's out there. And I would love to see it be pervasive in its integration with the medium that you described.
Yeah.
Not only telephones, which we can do, but have it be the main telephone service, the main response for Alexa, the response on chats, on texts, etc. That's what I would love for it to be.
Well, when you create the Dr. Miller avatar, I want the avatar to I want to appear first on the New Theory podcast, and then we'll pick stitches side by side. We'll put links below to
what makes you think that it hasn't happened today?
That's what I was getting.
Do you really think this is me? I'm in New Orleans right now, Tom. I'm not here. I'm not in New York.
I'm telling you, you got to check out who is it, Jordan, the guy who did get out, did an Obama deep fake. They're no joke. And,
Yep.
And I'm not sorry for not knowing the avatar, which more is a more positive word. So we're gonna put a link below to AesthetiSuite. And Dr. Miller, how can we? I know I'll put links below as well. But for those listeners via audio, how can we find you, Dr. Miller?
Just go to AesthetiSuite. Go to AesthetiSuite.com. If you're interested in plastic surgery, you can go to drphilipmiller.com. That's Philip with 1 L, Miller with 2, drphilipmiller.com. And if you're interested in learning more about PlacerTech, which is sort of the overall company, you can go to placertech.com. And Tom, thanks so much for throughout the years, your support, your encouragement, and words of wisdom. And I really have been very, very grateful for that friendship.
And same here. So we'll put the links below. Thank you, Dr. Miller, for coming back. We're going to have you back soon because I want to hear about the new developments. And like I said, maybe we'll make an avatar of Tom.
We sure will. All right. Listen, you have a great one, Duddy. Take care.